When it comes to Sirens, there are more questions than answers. You'd think that after 15 years of the Borderlands franchise existing, especially with the 8th entry releasing in 2025, we'd know a bit more about Sirens than we actually do. So let's quickly go over some of the Siren facts we do know. 1. Sirens are female, though there is a loophole that allowed Troy Calypso to access Siren powers. 2. Until Borderlands 3, it was believed that only 6 Sirens could exist in the universe at any one time. However, the Iridian writings left by Nereid more or less confirm the existence of a 7th. 3. Sirens can pass on their powers either by choosing a successor, or their powers are assigned by random chance. 4. Sirens don't always awaken their powers. As pointed out by commenters in my previous Siren video, Randy Pitchford explained in a tweet that Commandant Steele was actually a sleeper Siren who couldn't access her powers. And 5. Sirens are acausal, meaning they are not bound by predetermined outcomes like destiny or fate. One Siren can cause enough chaos that even beings like the Seer that spent thousands of years orchestrating events could not achieve their guaranteed outcome. While I was researching and investigating the mystery surrounding the 7th Siren, I stumbled upon 2 pieces of information that may suggest a hidden history of Sirens that was hidden in plain sight. Now, I'm about to give some context that may seem like it's not going anywhere, but stick with me. When it comes to the timeline of Borderlands, many sites, forums and articles state that the first Borderlands game takes place in the year 2864. And the Google AI thingy that I just can't get rid of claims that this was explicitly stated in-game, but I could not find any direct evidence to support that claim. While the exact year is still debated, for simplicity's sake, I'll use 2864 as the starting point for the timeline of this video. One other date we will need to figure out is the birth year of Tyreen Calypso. While there's no official age given for the Calypso twins, most agree that they're in their early 20s during Borderlands 3. For simplicity, let's estimate Tyreen's age as 20 during the events of Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 takes place roughly 12 years after Borderlands 1, meaning it occurs around the year 2876. Subtracting 20 years from that, we get Tyreen's approximate birth year, 2856. This highlights an interesting observation. These years follow the Gregorian calendar, the same calendar used by 97.5% roughly of countries on Earth today. It's actually more like 88% if you count the countries that are considered unofficial or the countries that use other calendars for religious reasons, but you know, tangent. However, obviously, humanity hasn't lived on Pandora for 2,864 years, and Pandora likely has its own calendar. But since there's no information about a Pandoran calendar in the lore, it's not a detail we're gonna have to worry about. The game's use of the Gregorian calendar implies a continued Earth-centric perspective for any relevant date, and is a key factor in this theory. Now, for the tidbit of lore that inspired this video, the Borderlands fandom wiki has a timeline breakdown of human history, from the advent of faster-than-light travel discovered in the 26th century, all the way up to the new Tales of the Borderlands game, which is chronologically the most recent. But before this, there is a section covering the events experienced by the Iridians, starting from when they first arrived in the 6 galaxies to when Nereid sealed herself in the vault on Necrotafeo. In fact, let me just read this entry for you. Nereid returns to Necrotafeo to record her story and die in a vault, where her siren powers will be contained instead of allowed to pass to another. Millennia later, these powers find their way to the Calypso twins. And it's that last line, millennia later, that got me. Well, you could argue that this was just creative liberty on the part of the article's writer, but I've already established twice now that I like to simplify things, so I'll take this quote at face value. Millennia suggests that at least 2,000 years has passed between Nereid sealing herself away and Tyreen inheriting the leech ability, which brings us back to Tyreen's year of birth, 2856. Doing some simple maths, 2856 minus 2000 equals 856. And using the Gregorian calendar, this means that when Nereid locked herself away, humans back on Earth were about halfway through the Middle Ages. And for a bit of context, here's what was happening in the 850s. Vikings were attacking London, coffee was discovered in Ethiopia for the first time, a Spanish inventor made a suit out of vulture feathers and tried to fly with it, unsurprisingly not ending well, and Pope 105 was elected. But did you notice anything missing? That's right, any mention of humans conducting intergalactic travel. This means Nereid and the Sirens of her time could not have been human. The 7th Siren couldn't have been human either. Humanity wasn't sailing the stars, we were still drilling into our skulls to cure headaches. Now that doesn't mean human sirens weren't possible. It's likely that at least one siren existed on Earth at some point, possibly inspiring myths about mythical women through history, or even being accused of witchcraft and burned at the stake. Who knows? Point is, even in spite of the fact that there is no mention or evidence of other intelligent life in the Borderlands lore outside of humanity and Iridians. Or Iridianity? I've seen it suggested that the Iridians created the Sirens, but that's not a theory that I would personally subscribe to. But you should definitely subscribe to this channel. In the Iridian writings titled Deal, Nereid mentions that the Iridians sought her out, and that her Siren sisters tried to fight them off before Nereid had them stand down. Which to me says that Sirens were not created by the Iridians, and the Iridians are not the source of Siren abilities. As I don't think the Iridians would create a being that would defy them and turn on them. To me, Sirens feel like they go beyond any single race or species as an origin. The fact that Siren powers can be assigned randomly leads me to believe that Sirens are an extension of some higher cosmic power. But that's a whole can of worms I don't want to open right now, and I'm definitely considering making it into its own video. Now, I've said it before in my previous 2 theory videos that I'm probably way off the mark here. I might have missed an obvious detail or a tweet buried in Randy's timeline that blows his whole theory apart like Bloodwing's head. And now I've made myself sad. I'm well aware that the Borderlands universe is separate from our own and operates differently from ours too, so that universe's historical events might not line up with our own. But the simple fact that I could not find one single piece of lore or a statement from Randy or anyone from Gearbox stating explicitly that Sirens are exclusively human makes me believe that Sirens never were. There's a reason the rule is worded that only 6 can exist in the universe at one time, and not the 6 galaxies. Given the minimum gap of 2,000 years between Nereid and Tyreen, where humanity was 2,000 years ago by the start of Borderlands 1, and the fact that we know Sirens were able to travel intergalactically, or at the very least interplanetarily, to find each other, strongly suggests that the history of the Sirens was never exclusively human. That throughout Siren history, all different races, all different species from different civilizations and cultures all across the universe were capable of becoming Sirens and were capable of traveling to find their other sisters. Now, unless Gearbox comes out and says that humans have existed on different planets across the universe since forever, there's no reasonable explanation that would tell us how a Siren from Earth would have made her way through the cosmos to find her other Siren sisters. We don't know what humanity's capability of space travel was before the discovery of faster than light travel, and we also don't know when Sirens became public knowledge. We don't know when the first one was discovered or revealed. And it is also very understandable that in-game, people who are aware of Sirens probably wouldn't even think of the possibility of a non-human Siren, considering that we are unaware of any other intelligent life outside of Iridians. But one thing we do know is that Sirens have existed in the Borderlands universe thousands and thousands of years before the events of the first game, before Sirens became public knowledge to humans, before interstellar faster than light travel, and likely well before humanity resembled itself in any way, shape or form, back when we were still banging rocks together because it made a funny noise. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did I miss anything that could potentially back up this idea, or is there something I did miss that completely disproves it? Either way, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.